Hello, I'm the Greek Geek because I'm 50% Greek and 100% a geek. Now, invasion of Astro-Monster. Very strange name for a Godzilla movie. I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize that this is a Godzilla movie because it doesn't have Godzilla in the title. This isn't the only movie to not have Godzilla in the title, but it's one of the few that doesn't, and Astro-Monster. I haven't heard King Ghidorah being referred to as the Astro-Monster in any other movies, unless there's one or another mention that I missed somewhere along the lines. I'm not sure. Comment below, let me know if I have. But it would make more sense to say Invasion of Monster Zero or something like that. But anyway, on with the review.
Travel now to Planet X.
Calling World Space Authority. World Space Authority.
A barren land laid to waste by the vile brute known as Monster Zero.
Two astronauts are sent into space to travel to the Planet X and to make contact with the aliens that are there called the Zillions. Did I mention this movie's made in the 60s? Their meeting with the aliens is cut short by an attack by King Ghidorah. After he was defeated by the monsters on Earth, he just fucked off right off to Planet X, and now he's wreaking havoc over there. The Zillions ask for help from the Earthlings in exchange for a cure that can cure all diseases. So they get Godzilla and Rodan, but not Mothra, because fuck Mothra. And Godzilla and Rodan battle King Ghidorah in space.
I'm controller of Planet X.
The underground inhabitants of this unfortunate orb have but one hope. The destructive duo of Godzilla and Rodan.
Akira Takarada is Kazuyo Fuji, and Nick Adams is Glenn. These two characters are easily the two most likable characters that I've had in quite a while. A lot of human characters in previous Godzilla movies have just been meh and forgettable for me, but I really like these two. They had a lot of good chemistry. They felt like they were real friends and had been friends for a long time, and I like the way that they played off of each other. It's also nice having an American in this movie. I think this movie was made kind of jointly with America somewhat, or America was somewhat involved. So having this character Glenn was actually quite nice and was a bit of a surprise because I haven't seen this movie in quite a while and I forgot. Although he isn't as awesome as later American actors that are put into the films. Akira Kuba is Tetsuo. He is an inventor and he invents this extremely annoying alarm device that is instrumental in defeating the aliens later on in the movie. There's not that much more to him than that. He's like a bumbling, kind of very awkward character. Hey, I can relate to that. Yeah, not much else to him other than that, but it's fun enough. He does provide a lot of comic relief, which is nice as well. Kumi Mizuno is Namikawa. She is one of the aliens who's infiltrating Earth and is kind of a love interest for Glenn. They didn't have as much chemistry together as Glenn and Fuji have in the movie, so they're bros before hers, I guess. Her character was likable enough. Bit of a twist that she's an alien and she develops feelings and emotions. These aliens are controlled and they don't have emotion, so it's nice to see this one breaking free of that. And the aliens are pretty cool too, I guess. And they brought back King Ghidorah in this movie. So as I mentioned in my last review, King Ghidorah became a very, very popular kaiju with Japanese and American audiences, so it makes sense that they bring him back for another movie. And I like how the stories of the humans and the monsters is more interwoven than the last one. Last one was they were very disjointed and didn't really have that much to do with each other.
Will these strange aliens be liberated from unending chaos? What secrets lurk beneath the surface of Planet X? And what jeopardy awaits the citizens of Earth?
For me, this movie, beginning with the first one up until this one, completes, for me, Godzilla's arc of becoming the savior of humanity as opposed to the destroyer. In the first couple of movies, in Godzilla Raids Again, Mothra versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus King Kong, Godzilla is just straight up the villain. And then in the last movie, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, he is kind of thrown into helping humanity, even though it's shown that he doesn't really want to. And in this one, he actually wants to help humanity, so that kind of completes his arc. And in future Godzilla movies, Godzilla, I think, for the most part, unless he's being mind-controlled, is protecting humanity as opposed to destroying it. And like the last couple of movies, the tone is a lot lighter, and there are some pretty goofy moments involving Godzilla in this movie. And that's fine. It's kind of going for that kind of 60s cheesy kind of vibe. It's not as serious as previous movies and as future movies will be, but I quite enjoyed this one.
Shall delay the orders to kill for 24 hours. This is your last chance.
So this one has a very distinct feel as opposed to previous Godzilla movies. This one takes place in space. Not many of them do. There's a couple of others that involve space and aliens and that kind of thing. But this one is the first, and it has a very distinct kind of feel. 60s sci-fi that was very popular in America at the time kind of gets a bit of influence here too, and it has a very, very, very 60s sci-fi look. It's quite nice, actually. It's quite nostalgic if you like those kind of movies. And I think it having this kind of look as well made it a lot more approachable for American viewers as well. The action is pretty good in this one. They keep improving over time, and the puppetry and the suits look better and better and better. Almost with each installment, there are some pretty bad ones in future movies. The action with Godzilla, Rodan, and King Ghidorah fighting each other is very nice, and when they're being mind-controlled and just wreaking havoc on Earth, that is very entertaining to watch as well. I do think, though, they reuse some scenes from earlier scenes in this movie or previous movies, which is a bit of a shame, just recycling the same material. Wish they didn't do that, but it's not that noticeable. On my first viewing, I didn't really notice it, but it was a bit more noticeable to me on my second viewing. And at the end of the movie, Ghidorah fucks off to space again, or wherever the hell it's going. So that leaves it open again for another movie involving King Ghidorah. And there's definitely more than a couple of movies that will have King Ghidorah in it in the future.
Behold, Godzilla versus Monster Zero.
I enjoyed this one more than the last couple of Godzilla movies that I watched. Mothra vs. Godzilla had a lot more nostalgic value for me because that had a lot more stuff that I watched as a kid. This one, I enjoyed the human characters a lot more, which I was a bit surprised at. That was nice, and I enjoyed the monster scenes and this distinct feel, tone, and the design this movie has. It has a lot of charm, and there is a lot to get from this movie. So I would highly recommend that you do check out this Godzilla movie. So next up we have some just straight up not good Godzilla movies. We've got Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, which I don't really want to watch that again, but I have to review it to complete the Showa series. And we've got Son of Godzilla after that, and that is going to be painful to watch. But it's what I got to do to get through this series. So, as always, thank you again for listening to me ramble on about a movie for a few minutes. I do appreciate it. Thank you again. I'll catch you next time.